good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. I hope you're doing okay during the self-isolation and social distancing. What we're going to do today is go through the divorce part of the relationships and families topic. So title, if anyone can get divorced, is marriage meaningless? Ignore the date, obviously that's wrong, and it will depend on when you're watching this also. First thing I want you to do, if you make a promise knowing you can break it whenever you like, is it still a promise? So pause the video, give yourself a minute or two, have a think about it. If there's anyone at home that you want to talk to about that question, then by all means have a quick chat, see what they think, and I'll get back to you in a moment. Okay, so this is what we're aiming to accomplish today then. We want to evaluate some common reasons for people getting divorced. What that means is we want to look at reasons people get divorced. We want to think about, are they good reasons for having a divorce? Maybe not so good reasons for having a divorce. We can't do that by watching Divorce Court because I can't get the video to play on this recording properly. However, if you YouTube Divorce Court and have a look, there's lots of really crazy out there characters with really strange and varied reasons for looking for getting a divorce, and you can have a look at that and see whether or not you think those are good reasons for a divorce, or whether the whole thing is kind of devaluing and making a bit of a mockery of the idea of marriage. The second thing we're going to do is look at some Roman Catholic views on divorce and some other Christian views on divorce as well, and link them. So for example, what would Roman Catholic view on getting a divorce because of desertion be? So we'd link the reasons for divorce to the religious points of view. Okay, that's the plan. First thing I want you to do then is have a look at what's in front of you. You've got up there, a Diamond 9 table with obviously your most important or best reason for getting a divorce and your least important or worst reason for getting a divorce at the bottom. Then you've got all the different reasons people might choose to have a divorce down the sides. What I want you to do is put them in order. So your most important or best reason for a divorce at the top, your least important or worst reason for a divorce at the bottom, and order the others in between. Now, obviously it says discuss this. You might be able to do that if you've got somebody at home that you want to do that with. If not, just think it through on your own. I'm going to go through the different reasons for divorce with you before you start, just so as you're clear. So the first one, emotional or physical abuse. That could be emotional would be undermining, constantly belittling, making somebody feel that they're not very valuable or that they're not worth someone's time. Or physical, so violence, abuse. The second one, imprisonment. So imagine you get married, everything is looking rosy for you, and then the person you've married gets sentenced to 35 years in prison. Whether you wanted to keep that marriage or whether you wanted to end that marriage would be a really difficult question for you, because obviously what quality of marriage are you going to have if you're only able to see that person when you visit them in prison? Unreasonable behaviour could be all sorts of things, but it's generally something that is considered not acceptable or not appropriate for somebody in the marriage to be doing. So if you're going out partying all the time and you're not engaging with the person you've married, or if you're addicted to gambling and you're wasting all the person's money and taking money from them, that would be an example of unreasonable behaviour. Insanity, if you marry someone and then they become insane, so they basically lose their mind, they're not the person you married anymore, they might even be in an asylum, that could be a reason that you might decide to end your marriage. Physical disability, so that sounds really harsh when you first think about it. Well, what kind of person is going to divorce because their marriage partner's become disabled? But actually, if you're 20 something, you marry, the person you marry then gets seriously injured and can't look after themselves, you become their primary carer. You might be washing, bathing, feeding that person for the rest of your life. That could be 50 years, 60 years, or even more. That's a massive commitment for someone to undertake, and they might decide that that's just not what they signed up for. They're not interested in doing that, and so that could be a reason for a divorce. Inability to have children. So we've looked at the idea of procreation, new life. Some Christians would say that the whole point of marriage is to have children. Some people's entire lives are based around their children. If you discover once you've married someone that actually they can't have children, for some people that's a reason to end the marriage. Adultery is cheating. So if one of the people in the marriage has sex with someone else, that might be a reason you choose to end your marriage. Falling out of love, so if you just grow apart over a period of time. And finally, desertion, which is leaving. So you're married, you come home one day, partner's packed all their stuff in a suitcase and you don't see them for 6 months. You might decide that at that point you're going to get a divorce. So put them in order on your Diamond 9, and for your top one and your bottom one, explain why you think that is the top and the bottom reason for getting a divorce. So what's your thought process behind it? How do you justify or explain why you've put them top and bottom? Okay, so I apologise that my little video is jumping all over the place. I'm just putting it anywhere there's a space. So what we've done then is that first thing there. We have evaluated common reasons for getting a divorce. You've thought about, are those good reasons? Are they bad reasons? What do we think about them? So next you'll explain some Christian or particularly Roman Catholic points of view on divorce, which we'll go on to now. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to find this out. I'd suggest you go on BBC Bitesize. It's probably the best place. Remember, it's AQA, relationships and families. What we're looking for is Church of England point of view on divorce and Catholic point of view on divorce. Remarriage is when you have a divorce, whether or not you can then marry somebody again after your divorce. And annulment is a particular thing that the Catholic Church believes in. So you find out what those are, put it all on a mind map, pause the video. You're probably going to want to spend 10-15 minutes doing that, so you've got a good amount of information which you'll need a little bit later on during this video lesson. Okay, welcome back. So questions. This is for the Roman Catholic point of view. Why can't you separate a couple once they've been joined? So what's the reason behind that belief that you can't separate them? And how does that idea show the quote, therefore what God has joined together, let no one separate? So written answers to those, please pause the video so as you can see them, and you probably want to spend 4 or 5 minutes just noting down your answers to that question. Okay, so at the very beginning I said we'd combine the reasons for divorce with the religious beliefs about divorce. So what you've got in front of you is 3 case studies. What I want you to do is for each one or 2, have a think about what the person's options are, make a note of them, so as you're applying what you've learned about the religious points of view to different situations that people might find themselves in when they're looking to get a divorce or considering the possibility at least of a divorce. So pause the video in a moment. Once you've done that, restart the video and I'll go through each case study in turn and you can kind of compare what your thoughts were with what I'm talking about and see if you're on the right track. Okay, hopefully you've just done this and now you're looking to see if you're on the right track. So case A, I'm a Christian in the Church of England. My marriage isn't a happy one at the moment. I'm considering talking to my partner about divorce. We're 20 years old and over the last year we've just grown apart. So obviously Church of England, they're not going to like divorce. So what they're probably going to advise this person to do is perhaps go to marriage counselling, couples counselling, try really hard to make the marriage work. If ultimately that doesn't happen, then in the Church of England they'd be free to get a divorce if they wanted to and then remarry another person in the Church of England later in their lives if they wanted to. Case B, I'm Catholic and I married my best friend last night in Vegas. We've obviously not slept together and are both horrified. What can we do? So if they've not slept together, they've not had sex, which we would say is consummating the marriage, which makes it a proper marriage. If they were drunk, which they probably were by the sounds of that, they probably couldn't give consent to get married. They couldn't agree to it because they didn't really know what they were doing. So therefore, in the Catholic Church, they can't get a divorce because the Catholic Church doesn't agree with divorce. What they can do is get an annulment. So they'd fill in a form and the Catholic Church would say, actually, that was never really a proper marriage because you've never slept together, you haven't consummated it, so it doesn't count. And also you couldn't give consent when you were married anyway. So therefore, they would dissolve the marriage. They're not breaking apart a married couple like so. They're saying that the couple were never actually married together in the first place. And that would be an annulment. Case C, I'm a Church of England Christian and my husband is abusive. I'm really worried for my safety and not sure what to do. So obviously in that example, the church is going to do the sensible thing, which anybody in that situation should do. Tell the person to leave that person immediately. They need to be out of that relationship. And then they need to get a divorce. In a situation like that, the church isn't going to be concerned about marriage counselling and trying to patch it up because it's not safe for the person to be in that relationship. If you think about Christian ideas about the value of life, do the most loving thing, God created everybody, everybody is special and important, you can't leave people in a dangerous situation. That has to be fixed as quickly as possible. Finally then, exam question. Explain 2 religious beliefs about whether divorce should be allowed. Refer to scripture or sacred writing in your answer. Now, it's a fairly straightforward 5-mark exam question. The way I want you to answer it is to lay it out as you can see the hexagons are on the screen. So you write your question down here, then you've got a point, an explanation, and evidence for one idea. That would be one of the religious beliefs about whether divorce should be allowed, and a point and an explanation at the top for the other idea, which is your second belief about whether divorce should be allowed. Now, the reason I want you to set it out like this, one of the things we've got to get better at is understanding in a written answer which bit is the point, which bit is the explanation, and which bit is the evidence. So as you can clearly see that you've got everything you need in an answer to get 5 marks. Another thing we need to get better at is making sure that our 2 points are clearly different. So by having them there next to each other, hopefully that will help you to think about, am I just saying the same thing twice with slightly different words? Because if it is, it'll be really obvious. It shouldn't be too big of an issue with this question because we know what our 2 beliefs are. It's going to be support it in some cases and don't support it. Nice and straightforward. One more really important thing. Remember, anyone answering this exam question in a proper exam could have studied any religion. So you can't write one religious belief about whether divorce should be allowed is. You have to make sure you name the religion. So one Christian, or even better if you can, one Church of England, or one Catholic. So you're naming which type of Christian you're talking about. But at the very least, you have to say one Christian and another different Christian. So as the person marking it knows you're talking about Christianity and you haven't just made up some random religion because you don't know what you're talking about. So plan your answer out like this with bullet points and then type or write a short paragraph. Remember, it's 5 marks, 5 minutes. Any more than that and you're wasting time. It needs to be a really short answer, but you've got to make sure you've got a point, explanation and evidence and a point and an explanation in there to get you 5 marks. Once you've done that, you finished. Lessons done, dusted. Well done for sticking with it. I hope it wasn't too painful seeing me in the little video box trying to explain it to you. If you've got any questions or constructive feedback about how I could do the next one or anything else you would like me to do slightly differently, then by all means please get in touch through Teams or show my homework and let me know. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and hopefully I'll see you properly in the not too distant future. Bye.